there. Welcome to our deep dive into Jamaican politics. We've got a stack of news reports and political analysis to sort through today.
Oh, yeah, it's by-election day in Jamaica today.
That's right. 4 constituencies are up for grabs,
And we're going to unpack why these votes are so important.
especially with a general election looming on the horizon.
Exactly. These by-elections are a real litmus test for the two major parties.
The JLP and PNP.
Yes, the Jamaica Labor Party
Mm.
and the People's National Party.
It's like a sneak peek into what might happen in the general election, right?
Precisely.
Okay, let's get right into it. We need to talk about Aenon Town.
Aenon Town.
This place is the hotspot, the one everyone's watching. What makes it so crucial?
Control of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation is at stake here.
Okay.
And winning this election would give either party a big advantage.
So imagine a local council that manages things like roads, garbage collection, even building permit.
That's what the Clarendon Municipal Corporation does.
Okay.
And right now, the JLP has a slim majority.
So they control 12 divisions.
Yeah. To the PNP's 10. That's right.
So if the PNP wins Aenon Town,
It would create a tie
a tie.
in divisions,
Mm-hmm.
but the PNP would actually gain control of the entire corporation
Oh.
because they would win through the popular vote.
Meaning they got more votes overall across the entire municipality.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a lot riding on just one district. No pressure or anything. So tell me, why has Aenon Town historically been a PNP stronghold?
Well, the PNP has a long history in Aenon Town. They've won 5 of the last 8 elections there.
Mm.
Some say it's because they've traditionally resonated with the demographics and addressed local issues very effectively.
But didn't the JLP flip the script and win Aenon Town just this past February?
That's right.
Okay.
And that's what makes this by-election even more interesting.
Yeah,
The JLP is looking to prove that their win wasn't a fluke,
right.
while the PNP is determined to win back what they see as their territory.
So it's a real tug-of-war for power.
It is.
Okay, so we've got a real battle brewing in Aenon Town. Let's meet the contenders, shall we? Who are the key players in this high-stakes showdown?
On the PNP side, we have Delroy Dawson, a seasoned veteran looking for a comeback after a narrow defeat in February.
A comeback kid story. I love those. What about the JLP?
You've got Suzette Barton,
Okay.
hoping to ride the wave of her predecessor's popularity and continue the JLP's winning streak.
So it's experience versus new energy, a classic political face-off. I'm on the edge of my seat already, and I bet you're dying to know who the experts think will win, right? Don't worry, we've got the inside scoop from both sides.
This is where it gets interesting.
Give it to me straight.
We have some bold predictions coming from both camps,
Okay.
and they couldn't be more different.
Okay.
On the PNP side, Shan Barneswell, a PNP counselor, is putting his money on Delroy Dawson.
Uh-huh.
He's predicting a win by a wide margin,
Wow.
and even threw a bit of shade,
Oh, tell me more.
saying Barton lacks the charisma to pull it off.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
So what does the JLP camp have to say about that?
Well, Clive Mundell, the JLP deputy mayor, isn't backing down.
Okay.
He's equally confident, predicting that Barton will not only win, but actually increase the JLP's margin of victory,
Really?
taking home at least 300 more votes than the PNP.
Wow. Both sides seem incredibly confident. It's like they're reading from completely different playbooks.
Mhm.
This Aenon Town race is shaping up to be a real nail-biter. But before we get completely caught up in the Aenon Town drama, we should probably zoom out a bit. There are 3 other by-elections happening today, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me more about those.
While Aenon Town is grabbing all the headlines, these other races are important too.
Okay.
They give us a broader view of the political landscape and what voters are thinking across the country.
Okay, let's unpack these other elections. First up, we've got Trelawney Southern and St. Andrew Northwestern. What's the outlook in those constituencies?
These are expected to be comfortable wins for the JLP.
Okay.
They've got strong candidates in these areas, Dwayne Smith in St. Andrew Northwestern and Marisa Dalrymple Philibert in Trelawney Southern. Both are well-known and popular figures in their constituencies.
So those are likely JLP strongholds. Got it. But what about Morant Bay? You mentioned that it might be a bit more unpredictable, right?
Yes, Morant Bay is shaping up to be a bit more competitive.
Okay.
It's considered a swing seat.
Meaning that it could go either way.
Exactly.
Ooh, a real toss-up. That makes things even more interesting. And just to make things a little spicier, we've got some independent candidates in the mix too, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Rohan Banks is running in St. Andrew Northwestern, and Lloyd Gillings is on the ballot in Trelawney Southern.
Got it.
These independent candidates add another layer of intrigue to the elections.
Right.
While their chances of winning might be slim, they could definitely influence the outcome, especially in tight races.
Okay, so we've got a mixed bag of races, predictable outcomes, nail-biters, and even some wild cards with the independent candidates. It's all adding up to a pretty exciting by-election day. But wait, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's something else we need to talk about. Something that's added a bit of a dark cloud to the otherwise vibrant election atmosphere.
Yes.
The PNP is accusing the JLP of some pretty serious offenses. Tell me about those.
Yes, the PNP has raised some serious concerns about vote buying and voter intimidation tactics,
Oh, wow.
allegedly being used by the JLP.
Okay.
These allegations are adding another layer of tension to an already heated election day. The PNP claims that there have been incidents of JLP supporters tearing down their flags, firing gunshots to intimidate voters, and even attempting to buy votes.
Real?
They've called for increased police presence, especially from the Protective Services Division, to ensure a free and fair election.
It's disturbing to hear about these kinds of allegations, especially on an election day that should be about democratic participation.
Right.
What's the JLP's response to these accusations?
The JLP has vehemently denied any wrongdoing, calling the PNP's accusations mischief and outdated tactics from a bygone era.
So they're essentially saying that this is just the PNP trying to stir up trouble.
Yes, and cast doubt on the election process.
So it's a classic he said, she said situation. Who can we turn to for some clarity?
Well, Dr. Horace Chang, the JLP's general secretary, has been very vocal in dismissing these allegations.
Okay.
He's adamant that modern Jamaican politics under the leadership of Prime Minister Andrew Holness wouldn't condone such actions. He's also called for vigilance against any party engaging in illegal activities and has expressed confidence that the police will maintain order and ensure a fair election.
Hold on. Didn't you say that Dr. Chang is also the National Security Minister?
Yes, he is.
Isn't there a bit of a conflict of interest there? He's essentially in charge of the police, and he's also a high-ranking member of the party being accused of these tactics.
That's a really good point. His dual role definitely adds a layer of complexity to the situation. Some people might question his impartiality, given that he's both a party leader and the head of national security.
Right.
It's certainly something to keep in mind as we follow the developments of these allegations.
Okay, so we've got a tense situation here. With serious accusations being thrown around, denials, and even potential conflicts of interest, it feels like the stakes just got even higher. What do you think all of this means for these by-elections?
These allegations, regardless of whether they're proven or not, have definitely injected an element of uncertainty into these elections.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what the ultimate impacts will be, but it's possible that they could influence voter turnout or even sway some undecided voters.
It's like a political thriller unfolding as real time. But beyond the drama, these by-elections are ultimately about something much bigger. They're about the future of Jamaica.
Exactly. These elections are a reflection of the hopes, fears, and priorities of the Jamaican people. The issues that are being debated on the campaign trail, whether it's crime and the economy or social justice, will shape the direction of the country for years to come.
It's fascinating how these local by-elections can hold such national significance. It's like they're holding up a mirror to Jamaican society, revealing its strengths, its weaknesses, and its aspirations.
It's also interesting to note that independent candidates, like Rohan Banks in St. Andrew Northwestern and Lloyd Gillings in Trelawney Southern,
Right.
often represent a desire for change and a rejection of the traditional two-party system. Their presence on the ballot, even if they don't win, can signal a growing dissatisfaction with the status quo.
And it reminds us that there are diverse voices and perspectives within Jamaican society that deserve to be heard.
Absolutely. These by-elections are a reminder that democracy is a vibrant and evolving process, and it's essential to pay attention to all the voices that are contributing to that process.
So as we eagerly await the results of these by-elections, I think it's important for us to take a step back and appreciate the bigger picture here.
These elections are about more than just who wins or loses. They're about the kind of Jamaica that the people want to create.
A Jamaica that is prosperous, just, and equitable for all.
And as we move closer to the general election, the lessons learned from these by-elections will undoubtedly shape the national conversation.
You know, you mentioned earlier that the JLP is hoping to prove that their victory in Aenon Town back in February wasn't just a fluke. What if the PNP does win it back this time? What would that signal?
That would be a significant victory for the PNP.
Yeah.
And a blow to the JLP's momentum.
Okay.
It would suggest that the political winds might be shifting, and that the JLP's hold on power is perhaps not as secure as they might like to believe.
It would also likely energize the PNP base and give them a boost heading into the general election.
Exactly. And don't forget, a PNP victory in Aenon Town would also give them control of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation.
Right.
That would be a huge symbolic victory. And it could have real implications for local governance in that region.
So as much as we're all about those big national narratives, it's crucial to remember that politics is also about local communities and the everyday lives of people.
And that's what makes these by-elections so fascinating. They bridge the gap between national politics and local concerns, giving us a glimpse into the heart of Jamaican democracy.
Speaking of the heart of Jamaican democracy, you mentioned earlier that the PNP has a long history in Aenon Town and has traditionally been successful there. Why is that?
Well, several factors contribute to the PNP's historical strength in Aenon Town.
Okay.
One key factor is demographics. Aenon Town has a large population of working-class Jamaicans,
Right.
and the PNP has historically positioned itself as the party of the people, advocating for social programs and economic policies that benefit this demographic.
So they've built a strong connection with the community by addressing the needs of the people who live there.
Exactly. And that connection has been reinforced over time through effective campaigning and community outreach.
Okay.
The PNP has a strong network of local organizers in Aenon Town who have deep roots in the community and are able to mobilize voters effectively.
It sounds like they've really done their homework and built a solid foundation of support over the years.
They have. And that's why the JLP's victory in February was such a surprise.
Right.
It suggests that they were able to tap into a different segment of the electorate, or that there was a shift in voter sentiment.
It'll be interesting to see if the JLP can replicate that success this time around, or if the PNP will reclaim their traditional stronghold.
That's the million-dollar question. And the answer will tell us a lot about the state of Jamaican politics and what we can expect in the upcoming general election.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. Aenon Town is the main event, but we've got a lot happening across these 4 by-elections. What are your final thoughts on all of this? Where should we be focusing our attention as these results come in?
Aenon Town is definitely the bellwether race. If the PNP wins it back, it'll signal that the JLP's victory in February might have been a temporary upset. A PNP win in Aenon Town, combined with a strong showing in the other by-elections, would suggest a potential shift in the political landscape, and the PNP might be able to ride that momentum into the general election.
But if the JLP holds on to Aenon Town and wins comfortably in the other races, would that mean smooth sailing for them in the general election?
Not necessarily. By-elections and general elections are different beasts.
Okay.
By-elections tend to have lower voter turnout and can be influenced by very local, hyper-specific issues,
Right.
but a string of JLP victories would definitely give them a psychological advantage and bolster their confidence going into the general election.
It was all about the optics and maintaining that winning streak. It's interesting how much psychology plays into politics. You know, one thing that's been on my mind is the impact of those allegations the PNP made against the JLP, even if they're not proven. Could those accusations have a lingering effect on the JLP's image?
It's certainly possible. Allegations like that, even if unfounded, can create a perception of impropriety or unethical behavior.
Right.
And perceptions can be very powerful in politics. If voters start to question the JLP's integrity, it could erode their support, especially among undecided voters.
It reminds me of that old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. Even if there isn't any actual fire, the smoke itself can be enough to raise doubts and suspicions.
Exactly. And in politics, even a whiff of scandal can be damaging. It's something the JLP will need to address carefully if they want to maintain the trust of the electorate.
Okay. Before we wrap this up, I want to play a little game. Let's pretend we have a crystal ball and can see into the future. What's your prediction for the general election? Will the JLP secure another term, or will the PNP make a comeback?
You're asking me to make a prediction based on 4 by-elections. That's a tough one.
I know, right?
Jamaican politics is rarely predictable. But if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say it's going to be a very close race.
Okay.
The JLP has the advantage of incumbency, but the PNP seems to be gaining momentum.
So you're saying it's too close to call. Classic political analyst answer. But hey, I respect that. It keeps things interesting, right?
It does.
What are some of the key issues that you think will be front and center in the general election?
I think the economy will be a major battleground. The JLP will likely tout their economic record, while the PNP will focus on issues like income inequality and the cost of living. Crime will also be a major concern for voters, and both parties will need to present credible plans to address this issue.
And of course, we can't forget about the issue of corruption. which is always lurking in the background of Jamaican politics. The PMP's allegations against the JLT, even if they're not proven, have definitely put this issue back in the spotlight.
Yes, and it will be interesting to see how both parties handle this issue in the run-up to the general election. Voters will be looking for transparency, accountability, and a commitment to clean governance.
It sounds like we're in for a wild ride between now and the general election. I'm already excited for the next deep dive.
I am too. And I think these by-election results will give us a lot to talk about.
All right, that's a wrap for our deep dive into Jamaican politics. We hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at the by-elections and what they mean for the future of the country.
Remember, Jamaican politics is never dull. So stay tuned for more twists, turns, and surprises as we head towards the general election.
Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep those critical thinking skills sharp.